noted.
We'll call to order the meeting of the Finance Committee of the Ogdensburg Bridge and Port Authority for Monday, August 30th, 2021. And we were discussing the added footnotes with references on the report that we received, and I really found them helpful. I am sure you can imagine, even if it's not your case, Patty, that you tell me something in one meeting and by the time I get the next month's statement, I don't remember. So I am really quite delighted to have these footnotes that help make things possible. I wonder whether you would make your presentation before I start to ask questions, because often you answer the question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Referring to footnote 1, you'll notice that the biggest debt service reserve is for Wilmington Trust. That is for part of the bond. That money we cannot touch.
Mm-hmm.
As we cannot touch the Tompkins Trust security reserve deposit. The consolidated reserve fund is a bank account that we can use. However, the money that goes in there is reserved for the CARES Act, the PPP, reimbursements from the FAA or other grant monies. So we put it there to show that it's not just operating monies.
Okay.
The M&T bond payment reserve fund will continue to go up as we pay in every month. And then in January, they pull interest out of the money that's collected. And in July, they pull out principal and interest.
Mm-hmm.
The PFC airport account is reserved for airport. I'm in the process of getting a clarification as to what monies can actually be used. We were told at one point during the construction that we had so much money in the PFC account, we could use this money for what we might need. I'm told that that's not quite true. So I'm talking with McFarland Johnson to get a clarification on that. Our accounts receivable are $226,000, 90% of which is current or 1 to 30 days. We do have some money coming in, due in from one of our salt vendors, and that I believe was received in August, so we will see that change. Everything else on the top and the fixed assets are as we have seen them in the past. When we go down to other assets, we note the construction in progress. We have the top 4 projects are footnoted. The Tiger Grant painting rehab project being 11 million, the harbor deepening at 7, the airport entitlement grant, which is equipment for 700, and the MALSF for 535. Then there are approximately 7 other little grants that are ongoing that make up that construction in progress. Our accounts payable are regular. We have on the footnote 549 of the 767,000 in our payables there. So when you take out those big ones, we have a very realistic accounts payable. The Excelis is always going to be there every month. But when you look at going from the top 2 or 3 down to the rest of them, you'll find that there's a huge difference now. We've gotten rid of, we've relieved the Clarkson accounts payable and a few of the other very large ones. So everything now is quite modest. The lawyer's fee that you see there, what was outstanding in accounts payable in July, is less than half of that now. So we're making progress on getting that caught up.
Is the Excellus on there
Only,
partly because it's old?
no, it's just, that was the next largest
Monthly.
monthly bill.
Are we able to stay within terms with Excellus?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's just kind of a normal expense
Yeah.
that we're aware of.
That's right. And I know they really shout if you get very far behind,
Right.
but
We have until, I believe, the 9th, but you can stretch it to the 16th. It's usually paid by the 9th without any problem.
Yep. Good.
But that's just one of the larger invoices that we have, even though it's a
Absolutely. Sure.
monthly hit to
Mhm.
the payables. Then the current portion of the long-term debt is approximately 923,000. If you go on to the long-term portion of long-term debt, you'll see that that's 11 million. The largest portion of that, I'm going to actually footnote that for the next time, is the tax exempt bond that was created for the airport, and that is 6.1 million.
Let's go back to the E-Transit.
Mhm.
Is that a monthly, 31,000?
No, that's what we happen to owe them right now. We owe
Okay.
them about $4,000 a month.
Okay.
They're the only one that we're behind on. They don't bill us. They say it's in the contract, but we don't just bill from a contract. So we're continually asking for the current invoices.
That's a toll booth.
Yes, that's the maintenance fee.
And say it again, that's,
The toll
That's support.
booth. But I'm trying to remember back when we had that discussion with them regarding what that could do for us and what amount of information that could provide. Are we getting any, well, maybe not so much now because we don't have a lot of traffic, but are we capable of drawing specific information off that?
Much more information than we do draw. But what we need is training
Okay.
to understand what the possibilities are.
And that training cost us additional money.
I don't believe so. I think it's part of the maintenance, but I would have to check with them.
Okay,
We haven't had anyone in for a couple of years. Part of it has been COVID, but
right.
part of it was we needed to get up and running with it, just with the items that we do collect the information. But now I think it's important for us to go and see what else it can do for us.
Yeah, I mean, when we ever are lucky enough to have the board completely open, it may provide valuable information to us regarding maybe where they're coming from or
Well,
type of vehicles and that sort of thing.
to know whether it's cash, credit card, or the commuter cards that
Right.
people can purchase up front. All of that information would be interesting to know.
I was thinking about, in addition to the value of the information itself, what a stimulant for morale it is for somebody to go and get some training.
Mhm.
You know, people really
Right.
appreciate a chance to learn more and maybe do a little more.
Mhm. I believe they came here the last time, and I think they would come here again
Mhm.
and do some training so that it wouldn't just be one person, 2 or 3 people.
Sure.
One of our big things with the E-Transit is making sure that 2 or 3 people are able to reconcile what's in E-Transit with what our deposits say every day.
A lot of, in the big picture, when you look at the toll booth, your accounting system, the payroll system. If you recall you remember when pocket calculators came out?
Oh, I do.
So long as you could do add, multiply, and subtract, it was great. But when you got into arc, cosine, and all of that, I remember in college, you were allowed to use them in a test.
Yeah.
It was useless to me because I couldn't use, but what I'm saying is a lot of these software systems are like that. Basic stuff we do really well, but there's a lot of things that can bring to the table if you've got the training. But those are 3 things that I can think of.
Mhm.
And it would be really helpful if people could get in to know everything the power that it can bring. And I know even with some of my stuff there, I don't use it as deeply as it is available.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. My daughter's always showing me new things on my phone. Oh, you can do that right here, Dad. We've all had that experience, haven't we?
Unfortunately, yeah.
And I wonder if it's even possible for that system to interface with the one at the airport. I don't know if that's ever possible, but that would be interesting too.
It would be, I don't know if it can or not
That was the original
plan.
plan,
Mhm.
was that they do it there, and then if they could have put a package out there and we ran it,
Right.
and it would all be integrated. And that way, if someone wanted to prepay, hey, I'm crossing the bridge, but also
Right.
or, some way that you'd have that was discussed, but we didn't go that way.
Interesting.
All for the future, right?
Yes.
I guess.
And not all of it. I mean, the training
Exactly.
could be on the horizon.
Mhm.
Good.
Any questions on the balance sheet?
I don't have questions now.
Okay, if we go to the budget to actual, our bridge revenue is up, which is a good thing, even though we're not fully open yet. The trucks have kept us, probably 2/3 of that is the overage is the continuation of truck traffic.
Mhm.
Our airport revenue is up 137,000 for the year. Fuel itself was 41,000 in July and 148,000 year to date, far above what we had budgeted. We really had not anticipated the amount of, what do you call it, GA?
Yeah, general aviation.
The general aviation traffic that we had, and we were basing it really on 2 flights a day. And this has been a real boom to the income.
You know, I hate to make this more complex. Chris, tell me if I am, but I would like to see that
On its own
out.
line.
The
Yeah,
fuel broken out.
yeah.
I'm really open to that. So it's in your park, Patty, to decide whether this is too complicated.
Right.
Okay, no, just the whole package, not just.
No, that's adding another line.
Great. Great.
The marine terminal, that overage there is all salt and grain, but mostly salt. The railroad revenue, Kathy is on the hunt for the audit so that we can get this cleared up. Nobody has yet seen the audit here, and it's usually delivered to us by
Mid-June.
the end of May, mid-June. So we're on the hunt for where that audit is.
Mhm.
And the wind turbine project did not happen.
Doesn't some of the grain come into the railroad?
No, that's all charged to it does. So no, what those rail cars, we don't have it, but those rail cars that came in are come through railroad revenue. But the grain itself and offloading is all through the marine terminal.
Right,
Is that your question?
but as far as looking at our share of the revenue for the use of the railroad, wouldn't that be part of the revenue the railroad made, is bringing those cars in?
Yes, and now, yeah, we don't know.
Which is what we're waiting for.
Yeah, we're waiting for that. We had a very good year because of the salt.
And the salt,
And then canola meal has been pretty solid.
Right.
So, yeah, we should have an expectation, if everything compared to last year, it should be higher than that, but they haven't been, I don't know, they didn't come forward like they did last year, and we've got to see where we are. Kathy said she was going to look into that.
Yes,
This
she's looking into that. And the question was raised, are they not worrying too much about it because we have this liability
Mhm.
now for the lease of the locomotive? And the intent was to simply put this money, once we got it as revenue, against the liability for
To
the,
offset those.
yes.
Yep.
So I don't know if they just assumed that, oh, we were going to offset it, so they haven't hurried to get us the audit. But we need to run it through the books properly, not just go along with the assumption.
Well, that makes a lot of sense to me, and I would be much comforted if we resolved whether we've got a problem with the railroad not delivering the audit, or whether this is just the kind of thing that happens sometimes. And I'd like to know, if there's a problem, let's bring it up to the surface and address it.
Right. Then our expenses, we have done quite well at keeping costs down. There are an awful lot of under budgets there. The maintenance expense under the bridge, we had to spend some money to repair the Jacobson. We had to get a harness, and we have the man lift here so that we can finish the repairs to the front of the building. The general expenses are over budget. I believe that is because strategic development is there and it should be down in legal. So I think that is just a placement situation. The airport expenses are a tad, the salary is a tad over budget. When the budget was created, it was budgeted to be one man down. We decided not to do that. Plus, there's been some overtime with the new lad who is now at the airport, who is not fully certified to be on his own. The maintenance expense, that again is fuel. $88,000 in fuel has been, we've spent to purchase the fuel, but again, it's offset by the 148 that we have in income that we have brought in. Under general expenses, we have one item that is at 46% and it should only be 33%. Can I say it?
I don't know.
Leo?
Why not?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, our Leo is at 46% of its budget and it should be at 33%.
Have we received an answer on mine?
I'm pulling the hours right now through payroll. And I have spoken with our attorneys as to the interpretation of the statement. And once I get the numbers, we can compare what the interpretation from the lawyer is versus mine versus the numbers. We can compare all three and see where we go from there. The industrial park, we have been keeping those expenses quite low. As soon as we purchase the new HVAC unit, we'll start to see some of those expenses going up again. The marine terminal, the only thing that is really excessive right now, we had to, it's under maintenance expense. We had to dispose of all the old tarps. That was approximately $3,400. The new tarp that we had to purchase.
Yeah, but that's it.
These are all reimbursed.
Okay.
But these are the expenses as they
It's part
stand.
of the income. Yeah.
Right. The new tarp was almost $11,000 and we had to bring in the additional loader to help move all the salt. A good problem to have. There were no the wind turbine project didn't happen, so we have no expenses. That one little item there, the interest expense was on the line of credit that had been attributed to the port, which it really wasn't. That has indeed been turned into a loan. Our monthly payments on that loan will be approximately $9,500 a month.
How will you show that?
That
Under
will,
general expenses or?
that actually, the interest expense will go to the airport because that's where the money was. So their interest expense will go up. Then the balance sheet, we will see the long-term and short-term portion of now, of what is now a loan instead of a line of credit.
Right. Good, because I didn't want that showing up down there, because it's,
No, it's
Not
not
where it
there,
went.
right.
Good.
But we are looking at about $9,500 a month.
And when will that be paid off?
It's a 5-year term loan. So
That was
that,
the one we're just plugging away.
yep.
so we at least have it under control now. It is indeed a loan. The CARES Act reimbursement is just always a timing issue. Depends on how much has been spent that we can see reimbursement. The current portion of the long-term debt is a little over budget. As I said earlier, in July, we pay Wilmington Bank the once a year shrinking payment on the principal. And in June, we paid down $100,000 on the line of credit with Tompkins. So those two items have brought us a little bit over budget, but it's over budget in a good way. The shortfall in the non-reimbursed OBPA grant portion, we have not yet paid our share of the entitlement grant. We anticipated that for May or June. It now looks like it will happen in August or September.
Remind me what the entitlement grant is, what we're talking about.
That's based on the 10,000 employments at the airport.
Yes.
And then we received the $1 million entitlement grant.
Got it.
Any questions?
Sam?
So basically, we have 2 more months left in our fiscal year.
No,
No,
7.
7. We go
What am I thinking, October?
March 31st.
No,
That's February.
April, right, April to.
That was what's called wishful thinking.
Would have been a lovely year.
I was gonna say, that's what I was looking at.
Oh, and the line of credit with Tompkins, the older one, has been renewed. It's been renewed for a 2-year term instead of a 1-year term. With that is coming came just the other day, the waiver on the compensating balance so that we can now finally finalize the financial statements. We will get the final version,
Mhm.
and they will have the statement there that the compensating balance was corrected in the subsequent month.
Mhm. Great. And does that resolve things that were holding up our land transfer?
No, that has all been resolved anyway.
Great.
The Tompkins requested that as long as we were going to receive money on a piece of property that was collateral,
Right.
they wanted half of it.
Yep.
So as soon as that is, the property is sold and we have the cash, they will be receiving $60,000.
And Steve, that's not much different from what you had in mind, or is it?
That's going to the line of credit, right?
Yes,
So-
well, it's getting split between the line of
Right,
credit
we
and term
split it.
loan.
So we don't really want to touch this money we're giving them at all. But the idea is half of that money that we're giving them is there for a rainy day should.
That's
The
right.
idea was
Yeah.
we still have access to it, but we're really just waving goodbye to it. We don't want
Yeah.
to, we haven't touched it since you've been here.
No,
And
we took the money out because they told us we had to. And at the middle of the year, they were doing some audit, but at Tompkins.
Hmm.
So they said if we wanted to have access to it, we better take it. So we took it, we put it in the bank and we gave it back to them.
Well, I think that's entirely appropriate for them to ask for part of the proceeds. And, that's good for the authority.
Mhm.
Right.
Sam, you don't have any more questions?
No.
I don't either.
Okay.
I'm really quite resolved, and I feel informed by the presentation.
Good, thank you.
And certainly we can forward this to the board, file a report to them that says, this tells the story. We'll ask you to repeat again most of the
So
story.
That's all right.
Yeah.
we've been fortunate enough that we've had revenue at the port.
Yeah.
Still concerns me the border being closed
Ah,
and how quick that might come back. The longer it stays closed, I'm afraid the longer it's gonna be before everybody's comfortable on both sides going back and forth.
Yeah.
So when we do have a discussion with Albany, I think we ought to make sure that's part of the message. We just don't know. You know, we've been lucky with the revenue we've been getting at the airport and the port, but
mhm.
that doesn't mean that we don't have serious concerns about revenue generation at the bridge.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's no question but that state representatives know how important that is to the authority. And, you know, with the epidemic, you know, there's a lot other than commerce that's at issue. And so we just have to respect their responsibilities, which are pretty broad. Shall we adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Stephanie, was there anything that we should have covered?